Ade suku kanurin tongortui.
Inshotine Nwalagon.
Emi Imboze Bra in Nasarawa State.
Ina alfahari da kasancewa Bahaushe.
Ni abuwa shangu ba meware hubego.
Ami monyimu mamboko mi semide niku ojiriwa zepo.
Me indi Maleza kan dijirina. Ni puse adagan Maleza.
Inyada alfahari ikasanchago dun fulbe.
Mapa yala na agba wana gashi bubasa.
Ne musungirindire. Mere murukuma dane pare lo mengirinde.
Nasarawa people. Nasarawa people. Culture, origin, festivals, customs, and cuisine of the people.
Right from immemorial, our people used to trade in salt. You know, Kiana and Awe are known for salt production. We don't have salt here. So our people used to go to Kiana and Awe to buy salt, and we will be taken to as far as Bauchi, you know, Gombe, even as far as Maiduguri to sell. And when they were coming, they would buy clothing materials to come and sell here, blankets and other woven clothing materials and other artifacts. They would come here and sell them and then go back to Kiana or Awe to get salt and then on and off like that. And in most cases, the trading covered both male and female in those days. Sometimes you will find a husband and wife moving together, and sometimes you have young damsels. And in the process of trading, some of our women got married. In as far as Bauchi, you know, if you trace some families, they will tell you their maternal parents are from here.
Zana we ayeka abayani ababionwa baga koni ababionwa bagoje ababionwa baginini efu ni tajemani awi ayeka ebe koza lonye ka wi ayeka na baro nani bo ba fonwa so na ba le lonye ni ka aso zamani so sia mawaseni bajana abaro za lonye ni de kai anduwa yesina wese keke ada kafina ada kamiyagwa halago feiha gameya feiha gana feiha gamani aguwata gebelenu ya kutewa kwa mini yake yamani ya wikpo gwobe mani gaharo wisi gwobe mani ya wikpo gwobe mani go usacho oto yuhu awo bon bagi pisikawe baga menwa bawa bigefu ya wuka aje wa yeke bagi wa basha apanya kwase beni kokanya kwase akaka ase beni kokanya kwase akase akuche gwobe no aba tokoko le ase no kwa ro si so ro je wasikama ase no kwa ro tero ro je wasikama ni so paje mbia yo nwa mbia gbo yawo go usacho go achana baga nwa bawa bi go usacho ama nso ya moni bita nwa gojos ya yomu nti wa so ya moni bita ni bloga gburuma ni bloga gburu ni gbo na rore ni gbogwa ni aru pasiri kiyu ni dayin orore yan dayin gbogwa yan iwo bukata.
You know, we were not used to donkeys like in the far north, and by then there were no bicycles, and not to talk of motorcycles. So they used to trek. You know, if you went to Kiana or away to get salt, you carry it on your head, trek to this place, make arrangement, make local food that will take you some days. You take it along. From here, you dash. Not only Bochi, I told you our people used to go as far as Maiduguri. And don't be surprised, our people used to even go to Cameroon in those days. You know, part of Cameroon used to be in Nigeria. So they were doing all those on foot.
Nkuma mumani wato ikulika shepa abaro zare panu amolo ko se ni iwa igbi yi mese wa yo abaya kikulika shepa awa ikulika shepa bia awa na nini anini abaya kanini awa no deri abaya ko deri awa mo kwobo go deri go kwobo ojegbo tero woye ojegbo sisi woye ojegbo sule woye ojegbo afu mani abayo yo kwobo ko deri fa abayo ma fu oma
ipishi ni ya mani iya bio lemu iya bia gburu iya bio mangoro iya bi pei ipishi na kuma baya mana nupi wowe korore pogwogwa kana sho masala nye ifuka gburu pa lemu anupi atama kaka o kwa gburu kwe abago lemu kwe iya go mangoro kwe iya go gipei
We farm yam in abundance, and definitely we cannot consume all. So you find our young men taking yams to as far as Lagos, Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, Kano, wherever it is highly marketable, they take the yams to. So also maize and all the other crops, they are into business. Well, we have our own unique way of marriage festivities. Even though things have now changed with the advent of the two major religions in our community. But in those days, marriage contract used to be contracted by the parents. If my wife gave birth to a baby girl, you know, sometimes right from the day the baby was born, another person from another house will come and identify his own son with that baby girl, right from birth. And they will do it by tying something on the hand of the baby. And by so doing, no other person will approach the family again for the hand of that baby. As she was growing, the young man from the other side must have also been told that, look, hey, you have a partner somewhere. And as they grew up, they got grown up, they will now be introduced to one another.
Ageba yimu ko yo nyape abagole ko mugajia abaga kado mugajia umugajia aba gwada kiye ko shinyi mugajia yo paje pi gabon age gama kiye na shinyi kize inena baya boko nyape udana baya nya baya ko mugajia
atogba ko nyaja oloko atogba ko nyaja abagbiwu bagbiye oloko si gero ya bio oloko si kiye bio wan abagbiye gole kishura gagbo tai pa kishura oloko si ko no na kiwu abagbiwu nyaku nyaku eta abaga fai gbowo e popon le kishura ababishi piase nyaku piase ban agigole kishuru bisi seroko yo jelo je kofifi ajelo zo fiwa igonya agbokero
tawiya abaka mo nyape je wapa ebe mo ko nyape kamina ebe mo ko nyape mo nto ojishishini amo je ko ya boko nyape mina.
They used to pay dowries through farming. You know, you could farm maybe for 3 or 4 years or 5 years, depending on how long the lady matured to be a full-grown lady to be given to the husband. They also used to build at least a room and search it for the in-laws. They used also to organize farming activities. You know, every year or after every 2 years, depending on how long the girl got to maturity. You know, all these are aspects of marriage dowries. And by the time the girl was up to the age of being given out, then the family would appease the god of the family. They would assemble millet. Millet used to be the common cereal that was used for brewing brukutu. You know, they will soak it. After 6 days or so, it will be ready for drinking, and all the families of the male and the female will assemble to pray to God, to pray to the forefathers, to bless the family, and then the woman will be given out.
Ayo nyape kuna baya yeya je to dunia mani obi mani ye isaba je nye to ayeya ebe ayeya to haka je mani piri abayo nyape ma bishina ba agbo sabo ko nyape bishina ba yabo maba seleme ko turuka je yo le gbo nyape yeta maba seleme ko turuka ya ga ngole ke mi padà
masala julo samu bo onyo abaga oga shida kiyaye konyo abayogu laga baje bakera yo kala ni lenye kamo kuje golo ko bo ko yoma aga ngolo ko bamna tukuje ga ya je
ahala goke osumoku ni madama na nyawi piya sene ayi wode ni saweta ene bagbo mani ala kike ni oyi no nya ayayi mo oyi no nya ga yo le kongo ene ta ma se chenwa abaya mani a onwo ya gbakuru nya ya gbakuru ba wa kuru ma wa ko nya fufu mbo ahanya kene onwo je da ho na yo ani aku ike na ma ko ike ma ku ike ma ku aba ku ya kayika amada ada ya fie ko ike ni o wa da wa ogini ga re ama ba ku mani ajotu ama la kike ni aya ma eduwa ga wa ya ke ba da o da ke o aya manaka go pa zani na hala go te no ma ama ba go pa aba gine fu adamu so da kongo aya ka manaka ge bije ke o ake wa sha yo suwa orí mọ nya yìí yẹ ògbó gbọdọ dadi ọkùnrin ọdọ wọlé oyè nẹnẹ ṣé ó fọ ní àgáyìn ókè àgáyìn àlà wọn títú yà òun ọyà gbọnyẹ wọ yẹ dúkọ ńgọ náà ńgọ díẹ yọ dúnlẹ máa nìyẹn òun gbọnyẹ wọ yẹ òwò pàṣẹ mà.
You know, in those days, the society was so well knitted. There were high degrees of discipline, high degrees of respect, mutual respect for brothers, sisters, parents, and the then constituted authority. being the rulership of the community. So once the marriage arrangement was done between the two parents, the young man, the young girl had no audacity to change the destiny. But we were told there used to be few cases of recalcitrant children. Either the boy or the girl would say no. There were no courts in those days for the woman to go to or for the man to go to. So they had to respect the views of their parents. And such marriages lasted so long, quite unlike these days when we normally give them the options. And eventually, a lot of marriages break down.
Abada oshora. Ibize gbinu piora doya. Ayawi gemi na ba obi okwo bi ara doga. Ogbinu piora dola. Ayo bi okwo bi ara doga. Ibize gbinu pinora dola. Obi okwo bi ara doga. Ibize gbinu piora doya. Obano bi okwo bi ara doga.
Baiko aikarago alalago ni bona sarawani awai kilini.
Well, when the Western education was introduced, definitely our parents resisted. They resisted a lot because they felt it was a way of spoiling their children.
Education came to this land first through the missionaries. But it went to the extent that where missionaries established at their school, in the night people will even go, just because of hatred and to harass them, will go and defecate. Every night they will go and defecate. So when the hostility was a bit, when they were becoming, they had to leave. It was later that the NA now came to establish the primary school. That is the one for the native authority. When that was established, even with that, there was the need to compel people into sending their children to school.
Initially, it affected both the male and the female. But as time went on, our parents accepted to send the male children, leaving the female children at home. And even when the female children were registered, they were not allowed to even complete primary education. They were in most cases withdrawn for marriages and so on and so forth. They were afraid that their children were going to spoil.
As at then, if you are sent to school, you are either the lazy one that does not, because parents were compelled to send their children to school. It's either the lazy one that cannot go to farm, cannot farm well for him, that you send him to school, or the ones that, in fact, some mothers will even feel if they send their children to school, is because the father despises them and their children. That is why he will now allow his son to be. But the ones that are really the loved ones, their children will not go to school.
In those days, the strength of the man was one of the qualities of getting a good woman for marriage. If you are not strong on the farm, who would give you his daughter to go and starve in your house? So our parents resisted Western education just like they resisted Islam and Christianity.
But eventually, when the despised ones went to school and started coming back with a new way of life, Western education, and either some work to do, taking salary and the rest, then people started getting conscious of the advantage of going to school.
When we were grown up, if you had a simple case of hernia, one had to be taken to Ali Ede in Benue State, because that was the only even missionary hospital that we had in those days. There was no hospital in Makodi, there was no hospital in Lafia, and not to talk of Obi. But with the Western education and the two religions, people became very aware, and they decided to send. The kings were even sending their children, and that's how some of us benefited the Western education too. We must first and foremost give glory to God, the giver and the taker of everything, for giving us peace nowadays. Definitely some years back we had series of serious cases and other skirmishes here and there, resulting from misunderstanding between farmers and herders. But as God would have it, we continued to hold series of meetings, and each time there were cases, we assembled them here, talked to them, and saw the need for both parties to come together, to remain together in peace and harmony. There were some cases of massive destructions, and the Fulanis were made to pay for the damages done on farmers. And if there was any case of attack on the Fulanis cow or goat, we will also ask the farmer to also apologize and even pay some little tokens depending on the extent of damage. So with that, for the past 2 years, we have been able to reinstate peace and normalcy in our community.
Kada kamishi kojoji ni baya chaka ni udesha shuru ta jamani abagwede do dajua
agwede do so obana ko ya pashi na ba gebeni nye biaba mani agwede so kiaba dija fo mushko dija le wala
ogona junior sule ouso na danebe ko yaje na yaje neneshi ikwe yoko na kede kafu ogona bioga neshi wa apona mishiba gbogiso ayake yo ebe sha shuru ta jamani agwede pogona ni asule
baina baiko aikalago alalago ni bona sarawani awai kinini
o ni gabo gelo geku ko da no wi gabo nyaku aba targete kapikini aba kiku sa targete tu ajo targete ni ba targete me aba gwa gaga okwe ya giku asuku ya ko banya giku chichome asuku jo giku asuku ya ebe jolo akusa ko nya okwe ye bekiku okwe machawa wa gango fonu cha asuku baya rebe anya ya abasoyi oyi aseni liga bokosko abasoyi so aseni liga bolo da abasoyi no akwe kekaye ihaba yo moyi anya iso so kini na ya na udo nkeno iso ni iso tun kasu ko butogu udo iso butogu le na sha ko ni sa kan ko pepe ho ku hiri abazo asa ba bia agopa abi ogopa to okoye kenya no okoye ma ebe nya batogba yi zeki ku kanu na agi awo mugaja abagwaga awo mugaja kima chikoma inolaje bawo na pola mono inolaje ya ole inolaje wesero amaba chiku ko chicha ya boko mugaja kobi olaja kasani ko kiko e ponu lona baya ni agbakata akato no ni kujolo ku abakato sai kobi sai ga kilo dakato na ikakato bawa awa abaga avamili ajo da mlivu na gama kogo ko bobo kweyi aba kado suza kobi aba ma lo le kweyi ajo lo le kweyi ni na bawa ba zoku aba zo oku na ba zeni ni aba gwagaga ba go gifu ajo zo ko ga oku kamili awa akatoni imba ga ngoko ni ya tifu kopa ba ilalala ba bigo pajema
baina baiko aikalago alalago ni bona sarawani awai kinini
as Muslims, Christians, and even those that do not belong to these two, we believe that the king is always chosen by God. But then, before you qualify to be chosen by God, you must belong to one of the ruling houses in Obi Kingdom. We have 4 ruling houses. We have the Obade, we have the Oga, we have the Akia, we have the Osuruke. These are the 4 ruling houses. And once you are from these 4 ruling houses and you are an adult, you are of good conduct. Good conduct. When I say good conduct, I mean good conduct. You must have very clean record of life from birth to when you may be seeking to be an Osuko. Then you are qualified. And if you are lucky, God may choose you to become one. And we have a standing committee, that is the kingmakers. We have 5. We have Ogolosuko, who is their leader. We have Osuza. We have Modochi. We have Waziri. And then we have Osofonu. Now, these are the 5 kingmakers. And all of them, none of them is a royalist. That's the arrangement. They can never aspire to be Osuko. They can never. Up to their last generation of theirs, they can never aspire to be Osuko. But they can aspire to be any of the 4 traditional titles I have mentioned. And once the Osuko is dead or removed, it is their responsibility to come together and then select one of the royalists from these 4 ruling houses to be an Osuko.
Alalago ni bona sarawani awai kilini alaja tu kero ni oji parude alaja tu kero ma opozani alaja tu kero ayikalago alaja tu kero
ayeyo se ko gbagese mado fiogaro ayeyo se ko gbagese mado fiogaro be bai pasamo ina mama onya waya le onya waya onya ko wayo onya waya amonya wayo onya waya obe bai pasamo ina mama onya waya obe bai pasamo ina mama onya waya onya ko wayo onya waya amonya wayo onya waya amonya wayo onya waya onya ko wayo